Good.
With imagery influenced by graphic design and fashion photography, yet balanced with natural quality, almost all of Amilcar Gomez's life has been focused on the mechanics of visual storytelling. First working as a television and film editor, Amilcar was quickly recognized for his open, collaborative style, keen eye, and succinct sense of timing, leading him to his first job as a director. Before long, he quickly accumulated a prestigious group of clients, including Bang and what's this word?
Olufsen.
Olufsen, Maybelline, GQ Magazine, Amazon, Starwood Hotel, Barney's, Anne Klein, and Missoni, to name a few. All right, so
Missoni.
Missoni,
And
All right.
it's Amilcar Gomes.
Amilcar Gomes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
All right. So I was saying Amilcar. I've been always calling
That's
you
fine.
Amilcar.
Everybody is, so
Okay.
I'm good.
Amilcar Gomes.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. So how was it like working with, say, like a Maybelline? Like, how was it working with something like that?
Well, it all depends, I think, on what part of your career you are in when you're working with people. So when I started working with, say, the group who manages the Maybelline projects, at that point, that was one of the first big beauty clients that I had worked with. So I was thrilled, nervous, and then also I knew that all my skill was being kind of put to the test. And yeah, it's great when you come up and you're thinking about what you want to do, especially in something that's not really like tangible, like filmmaking, and then you get an opportunity to do it on a level that you think, is here.
Yeah.
Then I think all of a sudden it's like you get insecure. You get like, whoa, this is. Do I really have what I need to have in order to do this well? I think that's what I thought. And that, it's funny that you bring up that group, because that project, the first project I worked on with them, I worked on several since, but the first project I worked on with them, I was really just running around. The whole day I ran maybe 15, 16 hours all through the streets of New York City, shooting different models on the street, and they had to be covered in such a way that felt natural, but then they also had to be, you're selling makeup, so it had to be all up in their faces and stuff. And I didn't know what was happening. I just did everything I possibly could. I pulled out any trick I possibly could. It rained, and we were in the streets.
Yeah.
Night fell, we were in the streets. Night fell, we were in the streets. I ran to a bodega and said, I'm going to use the light from the bodega to shoot. And the rain happened, we're going to use the rain. We're just going to use it.
So you did whatever it took.
I do whatever
to
it
get,
takes, yeah.
That's what's up.
At that point, and maybe at some point in the future you say, oh, this isn't going to happen this way, we're going to stop. But for me, I feel like, you have to prove yourself sometimes. And one of the ways that I do that is to just go hard. And
Also, because I'm going to finish reading your bio, but also, do you feel like not to a certain time, to a certain extent, like what you did at the beginning, sometimes you have to go back and do those same things, like work as hard, because I sometimes think that you don't always stay at the top, you know what I mean? And sometimes there's some highs and lows. So when there are lows, do you think that you have to remember what you was doing at that point in time when you first got that, so you can remember that to get back there again?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't really see myself at a high.
Okay.
Not that I see myself in a negative light,
No, yeah.
but I don't see it like, oh, I arrived at some place that I have ultimate stability in, and I never, I'm never going to be, what is the word? I'm never going to be subject or vulnerable to being unstable in what I'm doing. No, this stuff, my competition is stiff.
Yeah.
And the things that I learned how to do before I'm doing what I do primarily now, those are things I use all the time. And yes, if I'm not making things happen on a certain level, then I go to a level that is more familiar to me, and I try to make it happen on that level until I can try again to jump to that level that I want to get to. So all the time, all those skills. I now, I started as an editor, as a editor for documentary television. So I went to film school, and I started as an editor, and that editing basically told me what I need to make a piece of media. What do I need to make a story that an audience can watch and say they're entertained by? So I know when, as a director, if I step onto set and I'm shooting something, maybe it doesn't go how I planned for it to go, but I know that if I get X, Y, and Z, that it will still work for either me, who will be editing, or whoever that editor is. So I'm using all the stuff that I learned as an editor to work as a director. That's one example. But there's lots of other examples where, everything from the past is it makes you have your grace in the present, Yeah. Like people make make up this idea that, you got, someone just put you on, right? They found you and they put you in this like fantastic position. That in my experience personally and watching people around me has never been the case.
Yeah.
You keep working hard and you keep believing that your hard work is going to do something. And I know that that's trite, but that for me, that's true.
I think people, a lot of times, I feel like they only see your highlight reels. They don't see the
Yeah.
behind the scenes most of the time.
Nope.
So they think that, like you said, you put in this position because you're there and they think you arrived right now. But at the end, they don't know what you had to take to even get to this point.
No.
Which you don't even feel like you said, you're not happy. I mean, you're not happy with where you're at, but you know you can go further.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they see it as, oh man, he's arrived, So
Yeah, but no one knows what time you went to sleep. No one knows how long you've struggled in your whatever ways that are not detectable to them.
Yeah.
Why would someone look at me necessarily and think that I'm on a certain, I don't know, super high level?
yeah.
Sometimes I'm not sure. That's like an illusion people believe in. Yeah, I have experience now, and maybe that experience is like that can start to add up a little bit. But I don't feel like it's like some magical sort of thing that's happened to me. I got lucky in many ways, and I'm happy to discuss all of them.
Mhm.
But
Do you think it was luck, or do you think where it was? There's a thing, I think Oprah Winfrey said it. There's no such thing as luck as when opportunity meets. I think I'm saying it wrong somehow. I think it's opportunity.
Like opportunity and preparation.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That the working hard and preparing yourself for something and keeping your eye on what's bigger, and then that bigger thing presenting itself to you and you feeling like you're ready to engage it. That's a big deal. But I got lucky, not throughout my life. I got lucky in the very beginning of my life, because my parents are incredible people, and I mean, many people's parents are incredible people, but I felt like, or I feel like looking back, I see that the things that they gave me, the values that they have, the way that they were together, what they told me I could do, not couldn't do. They just told me like what I could do. They told me that there would be limits. They told me that there would be stuff that I would face. They kind of prepared me in a way. And then they told me that I could do whatever I wanted to do. And they it's not like they were, millionaires or whatever. It was just they believed in that sort of principle, and they lived by that principle, and they put their kids in a place where they tried to keep us educated because they knew that was currency, I think. But they also knew that was food for your mind and like food for development. So I got lucky in that sense, you know. So
That's what's up.
that is, I think that's totally the foundation, and in my values or my way of being or whatever. It's all, I'm like coded by them, you know. You don't you yeah, of course I'm my own, but I definitely, I have a lot of them in me. So that to me is absolutely lucky. Yeah.
Basically, just having parents like that, because a lot of people don't get those type of parents. So just to have that type of support and those type of, like you said, little gems that they gave you along the way to build you, like that's key sometimes. So,
But you know, the thing I think too is that I got lucky, and I realized that I was in that position with them, where I look back and I see that they gave me X, Y, and Z. But I also think that, and it's not my experience, but I think that just coming from a positive perspective is key.
okay,
So if you look at the environment around you and you say, it's offering me, it has its hand out to me, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that don't, but there's a lot of things that do. There's a lot of things that are presenting themselves to you, and you have to decide whether you're going to take advantage of that or not, or feel it as cool or weird or whatever it is that you're interested in. Just engaging with things that you think are nice around you. You know what I mean? You have to soften to that. And I think that that's kind of what my family might have done for me. But if you're a person who doesn't have that same sort of, you know, structure or same thing going, there's other things that are still going for you. You just have to take, it's a little more active. You have to take the risk of actually going out and deciding, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want to learn this. You want to learn something right now, and you do it in order to learn it. For me, the reason why I say I was lucky is that I didn't have to quite do it. You know, like they were feeding me information, and I was kind of taking it in and saying, all right, cool. Like I'm listening.
yeah.
You know, it wasn't that easy, but you know, that's in retrospect.
No, I got you. So you kind of said that you went to school for, you did a documentary, because that's part of like your bio. Like, so you your first documentary was in high school?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, my sort of story was that I was in Connecticut. I was raised in Connecticut, and then I moved to Maryland when I was 14. And in Maryland, it was total culture shock. Total culture shock. Below the Mason-Dixon line, just crazy to me. So I was probably depressed, you know, if not highly depressed, and I just skateboarded. That was like the one thing that I did. And I at first saw Maryland as like a place to redefine myself, you know. So I kind of was like, cool, I'm 14, I can be like whoever I want in this new place. So I came in, I was all alternative, and like I'm skateboarder clothes or whatever, all this stuff I was trying out that worked well in the Northeast. And I like landed, and everybody's like, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Like you're like an alien. So I still tried. So I still like retained my sense of like individual style or whatever. And then in high school, I would start to try to do things with art, because a lot of skateboard culture is centered around art. You know, so I started to just take it a little bit more seriously. It was in art class, I would be like, I felt like I was, you know, doing well. I did really well in school, but I felt like that was a place where I could just do my thing.
Be yourself?
Yeah, to a certain extent, or try out some things that I saw around me that I wanted to mimic or whatever. And then I had a friend in Connecticut who was a really good friend, and we started like to film when we were, you know, skateboarding and stuff. He had done some stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of cool. Like it seems like my thing. Like I have feelings towards filmmaking. So then I started to make projects, if I could, on film. And this project in particular, it's funny that it makes it into the bio, because it was like, it felt like I was mixing filmmaking, skateboarding, and maybe like education, just generally what I was interested
And what was the
in.
name of the film? Because it's right here, since you've already reading your own bio. So what was the name of the film?
Well, the name of the film is actually not printed in the bio.
Okay.
But the name of the film I specifically remember was Cobnobblers.
Cobnobblers?
Cobnobblers, and the reason why is it was just a stupid word, but it was the name of the make of the shoe, the skateboarding shoe that I was wearing at the time, and I pulled the camera up and I was trying this weird effect where you could like grab like text from like, let's say your hat, and I could reverse it and then it would be like text on the screen or whatever. It was just this little camera trick. So I did it and I said, oh, okay, cool, this will be the title of the film, and that was it.
But it was the psychology.
It
of
was the
skateboarding.
psychology of, it was Cobnobblers, the psychology of skateboarding.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just
And that got you a scholarship to go to.
no. So that was, I mean, maybe that helped, but I didn't need to submit that. Hold on. Sorry, hold on one second.
Go ahead, no problem.
Rich. Hey, how you doing? I'm good. Talk to me. Uh-huh. No, if there's the no, I don't, and I'm not at home right now. I mean, you can honestly, you can send them the whole locations. Yeah, just give it to them. Okay, so what time are they wanting to talk? Okay, all right. Well, I'm by my phone. Just call me when they're ready. Okay. 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 All right. All right. Thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. So I may have to jump off at some point.
Okay. No, it's no problem, man. Like I like this whole like realness that's going on right now.
It's very real.
In real time. I mean, like it's not too organized and neatsy. Like that's what I want.
Cool.
You know.
Well, that's what it's gonna be. But so we were talking about the psychology of skateboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I would try and make my work feel artistic. That's what I started to realize in high school. I was like trying to really show what I'm interested in and really try and like push myself to get outside of my head and kind of share. So that one film, I remember putting it on for like my class and everybody did a report, but I asked my teacher if I could make a video and he said sure. And I put it on and like it was bad quality and so bad that the VCR couldn't read it. Like it was like going to blue screen and then it would come into like normal and I was just sitting there and I remember my heart being like, oh shit, like I'm actually showing what I think is cool and like it felt like I was exposed.
Yeah.
And then it just started and like this music came in and it felt like dope and it was like everything was like turned up and then everybody just watched it and it was cool. Yeah. And so my teacher was very impressed and stuff and I was kind of happy that it all worked out or whatever. And then and I just worked really hard as a student, not because I think it was adding up. For some reason I was just a good student. And then my parents were saying it's time to like take it to the next level, and my dad worked for a university, so he said like you need to apply for school, and I applied to 2 schools only, and I don't even really know why. Like you're like 16 and I just didn't know what I was doing, but I had a friend in Boston, so I was like, let me do Boston University, and then I really loved New York, so I was like, let me do New York University. It was that simple. And then Boston University accepted me and gave me like this huge scholarship based on my grades and SATs and all that. So it was kind of a no-brainer. It was just like, I'm just going here.
Definitely.
And I went there, and they had a good communications program, so I spent like, I guess I started as an English major, and then I decided I wanted to be more visual, so I went to film. But the whole thing was just very, I don't know, matter of fact. Like sometimes I see how hard everyone is preparing for each sort of stage of their existence, and I think like maybe I did get lucky there too, where it was just like I was just kind of going and
I think to a certain extent it seemed like that you just let it flow instead of like sometimes I feel like we analyze our circumstances and our decisions too much. But it seemed like you were just like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and it worked out. It's like I'm reading this book called The Power Now, so it's like basically being in the present moment. It seemed like you was more in the present moment, and you were just being who you were.
I guess I was like mini feeling things out, like with not a lot of information. I was just kind of, I would feel it out, and we went to visit the school. The person came to greet us and was super interested in me, asked some questions. I was really shy as a kid, so it was kind of like, all right, this feels like welcoming, so I'm gonna go for it. Maybe sometimes I think back to it. I'm like, I could have gone. Now the way that I work is very specific, and very hard. I could have worked hard, and maybe I would have been somewhere else. I don't know, but but that's kind of what happened. So for college, then it was like one long field day. It was really 30,000 kids, and like I was sort of secluded in Maryland, and then all of a sudden it was like a city, in a controlled city. It wasn't New York where you have to like watch out. It was just sort of everything was easy in Boston.
Did you get you still had that same style that you had? Like I remember you said earlier that when you went to high school, like you had this different alternative style. So was you able to still hold on to that alternative style, like going to Boston University, or what was that?
I guess so. I mean, everybody has their yeah. I mean, it's always been the same. Like I don't.
So you didn't never
it's
change
probably old
up.
style now. Yeah.
So you never changed up when you did go into the Maryland.
No.
Okay. All right. Cool.
No, I just did my thing. Okay. I think that's been. Yeah, I haven't shifted shape so much in my life. It's kind of like I'm probably wearing the same thing that I wore.
And that's cool, man, because it's like, even for New York, you get to just you see so many different people, and you just get to be who you want to be, like in New York City.
I think maybe New York, and New York also has its way though, right? Like it'll tune you a little differently. I think I was thinking like maybe that's not true. Maybe I did sort of shift, but of course you shift over time.
Yeah.
But I think New York has this way of just kind of scanning you and making you more efficient and tuning you to the people around you and making you, hustle more or feel uncomfortable more or whatever, it's like, it's just, I knew that too. I knew that would be good for me. I thought New York's going to help me organize. And to some extent it has, because it makes you come to the table. You can't hide, really, and if you do, it's not a fruitful endeavor, Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, but school led to I don't know, not a whole lot of clarity on what I still wanted to do. So I graduated college, and felt like I have a degree. I'm doing all the things that they're telling me to do, but I also learned right away that a degree doesn't just go to work for you.
Yeah.
You have to then go to work, and you have that degree as maybe a license to work. You know what I mean? But you still have to get in the seat, and you gotta go for it. You have to figure out where you're going. So that took a minute to figure out. Yeah. So I graduated, and then 6 months after I graduated, I was at my parents' house, just kind of
Trying to figure out what you was gonna do next.
Yeah, and not knowing whatsoever, and realizing that I was intimidated by the idea of even the workforce. So, people would try to help me out, or my dad is very, good at that, where he would say, maybe you should give a call to so and so, and call that person, and I would just feel like, wow, so and so is just worlds away from me. Like, it must be that talking to me is like a service or like a favor to somebody. Like, I didn't have that feeling like, okay, can I ask you something to like help me to get to where I wanted to go? I just wasn't clear enough, and I didn't have enough momentum. So I was kind of like stuck for a year, and I found myself, where was I? Like temping. I'd be at a desk. I mean, people at a desk, bless them, but I can't.
So would you
do that
afraid
so
to
well.
ask for help to a certain extent, or
I didn't know who to ask. I didn't know what I didn't know what the sort of process was. I just didn't have a really good understanding of like the workforce and where I would fit into it. And I knew that. I had an inclination of that. So I remember writing a letter trying to like get more practical knowledge in what I was learning in the filmmaking program I was in. And it really wasn't available. It was more like, you need to learn theory and you need to, write some papers, and there's a curriculum that you have to go by. And I was worried that I didn't have enough confidence coming off of that curriculum. And I think this is big for a lot of kids. Like, you get confident when you know how to do something.
Definitely.
You don't get confident when you just have learned some like facts, So if you know, I can pick up this camera and I can do X, Y, and Z, or whatever your skill or craft is, then you're kind of like you're okay.
Right.
So the biggest advice to kids now is to just do something. And I remember somebody saying that to me, like, you just gotta do it, man. If something's in your way of you doing something, then you need to examine what's going on with yourself. But if you want to do something and you're doing it, then just keep doing it. And there's something is going to come from that, because you're putting in like real energy and action. You're not just letting it sort of circle around your head. And that was very, very good advice.
That was a great nugget that you just gave too, man. Like,
Yeah.
wow, like,
But
I just took a lot from that right there.
Yeah, but that also, it was, I remember it being really confrontational. Like, when he said it, it was a guy in New York in a diner. I think he was like a comedian or something that I don't know who knew him, but he was older than me by far. And he told me, like, he looked at me and he said, what is it? Like, what's keeping you? And I was like, I don't know what you mean. He was like, if something's keeping you, like if you're messed up about something, like you need to go talk to somebody about it, and then get back to what you want to do. But don't let what's messing you up get in the way of what you want to do. And I was like, whoa, I don't know any answers, I was like, I don't know if he's right, wrong, or coming at me. Like, I don't know if I want to hit this guy. Like, I was just like, So that was crazy. That was a really weird and confrontational moment, but it was good, because I never forgot it, obviously.
Point exactly.
Right? So it messed with me in the right way. So I think that's the easier side of it is not investigating yourself, right? The easier side is to just like go do something. Just go do something. And if you really feel like I'm not motivated, then you have to, you got to figure that out.
Sometimes you just got to get out your own way. A lot of times, like I know for myself, a lot of times, like I have to get out of my own way, thinking that I won't be good enough, or that people might be judging me, or you know what I mean, like somebody might be beyond my reach or something like that. And it's like, why do I even think like that? You know what I mean?
I mean, what are you protecting then? You might not be judged. You're protecting yourself from someone judging you if you don't do something well that you want to do, but then you're not doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
So how would that lead to the momentum that is called happiness? You know what I mean? It's
Definitely.
like, you just sit there and kind of say, well, I'm just going to be inactive. if I go invisible, then they can't call me out. And it's like, well, okay, but you're invisible.
Yeah,
You know, so you're not gonna get a lot of energy from being invisible.
definitely.
But yeah, so that's I guess that's like that's one of the major ones for me. Is once I start doing, I also feel like I can't stop. You know?
So you catch that momentum.
Yeah, because you know, from in what I do now, you have your slow time, you have your fast time, the time that's now where people are calling you when you're trying to do something else, and then there's times where you're just sitting there, and which is not often with the family and all that stuff, but it is like there's moments where I think, well, where's the next sort of thing gonna come from? I thought it today. Right now is really busy. But I don't know what's going to happen in the fall, you know? And that alone makes me think, okay, so you have to start, keep the momentum, plan for the fall. What seeds can you scatter now for then, even though it's really busy now? Just strategy. It's like, I always was you can just get people talking. I always was really interested in like, in how people took themselves seriously. I think I told you this before.
Yeah.
And I never understood that. You know, I'd be in high school and someone would be like, yeah, and then we're gonna go to 7-Eleven, and then we're gonna go to this party, and then after that party maybe we can meet so and so. And they were so like definitive about how important their life was, even if they're doing nothing.
Right.
And I looked at those people and thought, like, why is it that your life feels so important? Like, why is everything such a big deal to you? And sometimes I admired that, you know. And I remember myself thinking, like, none of this feels important to me. Like, I can't figure out what is gonna motivate me. And I think work helped me with that. Work
Do
was
you
like,
do you look at what you do as work, or do you look at it as like something like, because you know it's like the saying, if you love what you do, then you never work a day in your life. So do you look at it like work, like, you know,
All day
or do you
long.
look at like you enjoy it? So it's like, okay, I get to do what I want to do. No.
both, maybe. I think I look at it as work a lot because it is work. And
Okay.
it's the work is in you know, okay, so I make commercial films basically.
Mm-hmm.
So inherently I'm working for somebody.
Yeah.
I'm making an ad about a product. I'm talking with a group of people who are developing ideas for whatever the ad is that I'm making. So they come to me with what I'm going to do already. Like, we want everything underwater. And then I go, okay, everything's underwater. And I